friends, and welcome to another video. This is going to be a video talking about my Make 9 2024 plans, specifically knitting plans. There's a lot of other things that I would like to make in 2024, but we're just going to talk about the knitting plans. If you are new here, my name is Emily and I am coming to you from Kentucky, where I live with my husband and our beautiful little boy. Before we get into the regular part of the video, I have a couple of announcements that I want to talk about, and yeah, I think it's just the two announcements. First off, some of you may have guessed based off of some of the things that I've kind of said and whatnot, but my husband and I are expecting our second little baby this year, which is very, very exciting. Hence what I'm planning to make the title of this video, which is Make 10 2024. I'm about 12 and a half-ish weeks pregnant at the moment, and it has overall been honestly shockingly smooth. It was a little nerve-wracking. For those of you that have been following along with my channel for a while, you'll know I had a miscarriage last fall, and so we found out on Thanksgiving Day that we were expecting again, and so December was a little bit rough for the first part. We didn't actually get to go in for an ultrasound until just before Christmas, just before my birthday, just before Christmas, so that was a little stressful. But we were able to go in, they were able to find a heartbeat, everything was looking good, so we were able to tell our families for Christmas, which was lovely, and then we were able to go in for a second ultrasound 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and everything was looking amazing. It was, like I said, a little nerve-wracking initially because I had just had a miscarriage a couple months ago, and then once we saw the heartbeat, it made us both feel much, much better. However, my first trimester has honestly been the smoothest experience. I've definitely had some nausea here and there and not feeling great on some days, but not anywhere like what I had with baby Tam, my first little boy, or my first child. We don't know yet what this little baby is going to be. My first child. And it was not, it has not at all been what I expected based off of like my mom's history and my sister's history. My older sisters had 3 children and my mom's had 10 children. So I was kind of expecting things to be a lot different. So I'm very, very grateful we were able to go in for a second first trimester ultrasound. We just went to our local pregnancy resource center and they were amazing. The ladies in there were so, so kind. Usually they're not able to offer any sort of a second ultrasound once they identify a heartbeat, but they were able to schedule one. They called it a model ultrasound, where basically it's an opportunity for some of the ladies in there who have not been able to do as many ultrasounds. It's a way for them to practice it, kind of. So it was, we're so grateful that that worked out, and everything was looking good. Baby was wiggling all over the place. It was the cutest thing. But yeah, so that's kind of been in the background for December and everything. And it was kind of part of what made December, like I mentioned in my previous video, December a bit, not rough. Well, yeah, kind of rough. Because honestly, right around 6 weeks was when the worst sort of nausea and stuff was kicking in. And I just wasn't feeling amazing. And then honestly, the nausea wasn't bad, but I've just been tired. No energy. I mentioned, I think in my last podcast episode, that I hadn't really done hardly any knitting, and that was mostly just because I have had so little energy. Part of that's, of course, because baby Tam is teething yet again, and need I say more? Sleep has been lacking. But anyway, so that's probably the most exciting announcement for this. The second one that I quickly wanted to mention is that for my Etsy shop, some of you may know I sold some hand-dyed yarn last year. I had plans to do more, but then last year was kind of crazy with buying a house and moving and miscarriage and baby and everything. So I wasn't able to do any more yarn dyeing like I had hoped. I'm hoping to do so this year. However, it's still going to be a busy year. 2 of my younger siblings are getting married, so we have 2 weddings and a baby this year. So, but if everything goes smoothly, I'm hoping to do a first day of spring mini skein set release in my Etsy shop. I haven't done anything of it up yet, but I love spring so much, and I'll talk about it again on any podcast kind of in between, just kind of remind you, but I just want to kind of put the seed out there that this is what I'm hoping to do. If we get a little bit closer to it and it's just not going to happen, I'll let you guys know, but I'm hoping to do another like Redwall in spring mini skein set. I love using the Redwall books. If you're not familiar, the Redwall series by Brian Jakes, absolutely phenomenal series. I love it so much. I have talked about it many times before. I like using it as an inspiration for both the yarn names and the yarn colorways, just because it kind of narrows down the decisions that I have to make. There are so many things, books particularly, that I could use as inspiration for yarn dyeing, but it just gets a bit overwhelming. So, but quickly, by the time this video goes live, I actually have 2 colorways. If you have been watching the podcast for a while, you may remember these, but I have 2 colorways, honestly sweater quantities for most people, of DK weight yarn that I'm going to list in the shop. I was planning to make something for myself, but I have just realized that these are really, they're not my happy colors. And what I mean by that is that there are certain colors that I know just, I feel good when I wear those colors. And my struggle is that there are many colors that I absolutely love, but then when I try to wear them, particularly lighter shades of colors, I just don't feel as good in my own skin. So, kind of in conjunction with my last podcast episode where I was talking about that I'm going to be working on trying to make myself and craft myself a comfortable feminine wardrobe this year, I'm also going to be trying to really hone in on those colors that I know just make me feel good. And these colors just aren't it. So I have come to the decision that I'm just going to list them in my Etsy shop so that if one of you is in the need for some fun yarn, you can get it. I will have them a bit discounted, probably $20 a skein. But let me show you quickly. So first we have this one, which is just this kind of gold variegated yarn, or yellow. It is showing up quite a bit warmer on screen. It's a bit more of a cool tone yellow, and I'm going to try and get color accurate pictures as much as I can. But I have 6 skeins of this. It's a DK weight base on a 75-25 superwash merino nylon blend. And I've made my festival sweater by Petite Knit out of this same blend of DK weight yarn, and I've loved working with it. It's really nice. So I will have 6 skeins of this. I'm going to call this one Honeycomb. I'm kind of sticking with the sort of woodland animal theme of Redwall. And then I have 6 skeins of this colorway, which I really love. But again, it's just that sort of muted, almost like not pastel, obviously, but it's just sort of a muted gray, rose gold-esque sort of a look. And I was planning to make a cardigan, like a cabled cardigan out of it. But again, I've just realized that I don't love it when I'm wearing these lighter colors. I have a dark gray cardigan of my husband's that I steal all the time, and I love that. And so this just isn't going to fit. This is my wardrobe and lifestyle and everything. So this one I'm just calling Seabird, and there again, it's the same blend, DK weight. Oh, I should have said, I believe it's 246 yards per 100 grams. So it's a really soft, squishy, plump DK, and yes, I love working with this. I have made multiple things with this base and have plans to make multiple more things. But again, 6 skeins of this and 6 skeins of this will be in my Etsy shop when this video goes live. So if you're interested, I will have a link down below and you can check it out. But yeah, so sweater quantities of both of these for probably most sizes. Yeah, I do really love these colors. Especially this one. I'm very proud of this one. Like, it just looks so cool, if I can say that about my own yarn. It's just got speckles and variegated, and it's just lovely, which like makes sense. I dyed the colors that I was expecting to knit something for myself out of. There's some of the speckles on the other skein. But yes, so that's kind of a little update on the Wood and Burn Yarns Etsy shop. I've been planning to talk about it for a minute, and I know it's going to be probably another week or two before I get another podcast episode out. Filming has just been challenging, but I really wanted to get my Make 9 video out before the end of January like I said I would, so we're talking about a little bit of other stuff first. But yes, I have my Etsy shop link down below. Stay tuned. I'm hoping to get a spring mini skein collection available for sale. Again, very limited numbers, probably only 4. That's what I did last year, and it kind of worked out pretty well. Yeah. So, since we've talked about all of that fun stuff, let's go ahead and get into the regular portion of this video. Okay, Make 9 2024 Make Along. What is it? So Amy of the Noble Character Crafts podcast hosts this year-long make-along. She's been doing it for many years now. I don't remember if it's like 7 or 8 or something like that. It's been several years. And I really noticed it last year, and I really wanted to participate, and in my head I participated. I like kind of wrote down a list and made several projects in my head list of projects that I wanted to make for the Make 9, and just never got around to like officially posting it on Instagram and talking about it, which is fine. 2024 rolled around, and I am determined to do it this year. So I've already posted my 9 project grid on Instagram. So a little bit about it, if you're not familiar, it's basically where you pick out 9 different projects, you make a grid. I'll pop mine up here probably. And you make a grid of 9 projects that you want to work on throughout the year. You don't have to complete anything, as Amy says. It's just a participatory make along, and you can do any craft. So knitting, crocheting, cross stitch, sewing, like anything. That's why it's a make along. Like I mentioned at the beginning, there's a lot of like sewing projects and things that I would like to make, but I didn't want to overcomplicate things, and these are knitting projects that I know that I want to at least attempt to work on this year. So we're going to go ahead and dive into it. Let me get my phone here so I can just pull up the picture, and we'll just kind of talk through it. I have most of the yarns that I will need to make the projects. That's kind of why I picked a lot of the projects, because I want it, as I mentioned in my last video, I really want to focus on working through the yarns that I have in my stash. And so I tried to pick projects that I already have yarn for. So, a little bit rambly today. Let's see. Okay, cool. I'm gonna drink of water. I'm telling you, I'm still nursing my toddler, and so I'm nursing and I'm pregnant, so I'm hungry and thirsty all the time, non-stop. That's been the most challenging part, particularly when the food aversions were really bad at the beginning, finding food to eat. So the first project on there is a crochet ripple blanket, and so my plan is, one, I would love to just make a crocheted ripple blanket anyway. My husband has one that his mom made for him out of just like some red heart yarn or something, and it looks amazing. I love it. And I would love to make one both just as a regular like throw blanket Afghan, but also I would love to make a blanket for the baby. I made a couple of blankets for baby Tam. I didn't finish them before he arrived, but I worked on them while I was pregnant with him. So my plan is I'm going to wait until we find out the gender of the baby, which should be in March, I believe, because I like to dress my child and children and make things for them that are specifically, they're not gender neutral. I like them to be very boyish or very girlish, whichever one they are. And so I'm going to wait until we know the gender of the baby, and then I'm going to pick some yarns. This is an example where I talked about that I'm not buying yarn this year unless it's for a specific gift project. This is one of those specific gift projects. My plan is to make the blanket out of the Hobby Lobby I Love This Cotton yarn. That was one of the blankets that I made for baby Tam, and I love it. I would love to make a full-size throw blanket out of it. It has a nice weight to it. It's lovely to work with. It's just amazing. So I'm planning, once we find out the gender of the baby, that we will then, I'll go to the store and go to Hobby Lobby and get some different colors. If it's a girl, I'm kind of thinking like pinks and greens and yellows, like very springy colors, maybe a light blue in there. If it's a boy, probably more of like beachy. So similar, but like browns and blues and greens and tans. Those are like kind of the color palettes that I'm thinking about, and I'll have put the picture up here somewhere, but this is just kind of an example of the blanket that I'm thinking about making. I don't know if I will use this specific pattern or if I would just make a general crochet ripple blanket. You can look it up on online. I liked this one in particular because it's very closed stitches. I love the look of like granny stitch afghans, but I don't like how they have kind of the big holes in them where like your toes can poke through. And my husband doesn't care for those either, so I do prefer to make blankets that are yeah, I guess they just don't have the big holes in them. So that's the first project. Then the second project that is on the list, I'm just kind of going left to right in rows, if that makes sense. So the second project, I'll have the name of the pattern on the screen here because I can't remember the specific name of it. It's something about like more woodland animal friends or something like that. It's by Esther Braithwaite, I believe is how you pronounce it. And it's just this very, very sweet little woodland animal knitting pattern. And they're kind of small from what I can tell. And they're just adorable. And I got this particular, she has a couple different sets, and I got this one in particular because there was a little mole in there, and I think the little mole is just adorable. And I took advantage of the sales in November to get a few different packs of these yarns in different colors from, if you're familiar with Knit Picks, I don't know if you know this or not, but there is an alternative website that's specifically for crocheting that's called Crochet, and I think it's just the website link is just crochet.com, and they have most of the yarns from Knit Picks, like the exact same yarns. It's all the same company, it's just two separate websites. The benefit that I have found with the Crochet website is that they have a much lower threshold for getting free shipping. I believe, I could be wrong, it's been a minute since I looked at it, I believe on Knit Picks you have to buy $65 worth of yarn, or maybe it's $60 worth of yarn in order to get the free shipping. On Crochet it's like $45. So it's $15 to $20 cheaper in order to get the free shipping. And they had some phenomenal sales back in November. So I was able to get a bunch of different, I didn't bring them all out here, but a bunch of different packs of these. It's 100% combed, I never know how to pronounce this word, mercerized cotton. And it's just all these different colors. And I thought this would be absolutely perfect for making like these little woodland animal things. And then I also have I got Esther Braithwaite's nativity set, which I'll talk about in a minute. And so I got this, like a couple of these, and then there was another set that's got like pinks and other colors in it. They were all like $6 a piece, which I thought was a fantastic price. I think I got maybe 5 different packs in total. Yeah, I thought it would be perfect for stuff like this because it's a bunch of small balls of different colors of yarn. So it works great because for these smaller projects you don't need a ton of yarn, and I don't really want to like try and dye up like a whole big skein of yarn for one little project. So I'm really happy that I was able to find these, and I'm really excited to give it a shot, see how it works. yeah, so it's, yeah, here we go. So knitpicks.com and then We Crochet. And they're all the same company. It's just 2 different websites. I will say on the We Crochet, they don't have the like knitting needles and knitting notions for sale. They have crochet hooks and crochet notions for sale. So that's kind of the biggest difference. And they don't have everything that the Knitpicks website has, but they have a lot of the basics. Like they have a lot of like the Wool of the Andes, Knitpicks palette, or not Knitpicks, but palette, and they have a lot of them. If you haven't heard of it, check it out. But yeah, so I got that for this one. The next project on my Make 9 board, I don't actually have the yarn for. My plan is to dye the yarn for it. And it is the Clandon Sweater by Amy of the, I believe it's Amy Loudon of the Taylor S Studio podcast and Taylor S Studio Patterns, and she's also one half of the Dandelion and Dogwood yarn dyeing company, and I love her patterns. I have followed Amy for many years. I followed her back before she got into knitting when she was a sewing blog, and I loved her sewing style because that was kind of where I started. It was very much sewing blogs, and then those have kind of died over the years, which is so sad for me. I loved going through and reading all of the sewing blogs. That's neither here nor there. I followed her for many years. I was really excited when I kind of got into knitting and she kind of got into knitting, and she started designing patterns, and I was like, oh, this is awesome, because I love her sewing style. I'm probably gonna like her knitting style. It all worked out. I've been wanting to knit one of her patterns for quite some time, and so I decided that I'm gonna do the Clandon Sweater. I own, I think 3 or 4 of her different knitting patterns. The Clandon Sweater is knit out of a DK weight yarn, and I have a decent amount of undyed DK weight yarn in the same base as this. So my plan is to dye up yarn in a color. I haven't completely decided yet. It's probably going to be later in the year, but dye up yarn for that sweater. The next pattern is one that I am very excited. I can't remember 100% exactly what the title of it is. I think it's Tidal Treasure Sweater. It's a drops knitting pattern, so it's a free knitting pattern, which I'm very excited about. And I love it because it's kind of got that sort of like feather and fan lace detailing in the yoke, and I love that. And the biggest reason why I chose this particular pattern was because it's knit top down. I don't know what it is about the feather and fan or old shale stitch knitting stitch, but the majority of the garments that use it are all knit bottom up. And I've come to the realization that, one, I'm a busy mom. I'm a busy wife and a busy mom, and I just don't have the brain space to do the bottom up. It's just, I don't know, it's kind of a slog, honestly. It just feels backwards and upside down and weird, and you can't try it on as easily. And so I've just realized for this season of my life, I am not going to be attempting to tackle bottom up knitting patterns. Not at this time. That could change later in the year. I don't know, but I'm gonna focus on knitting the knitting patterns that have the construction that I enjoy. So that's why I picked this one. And I found this yarn actually from Joann. They were clearancing out this yarn, and so I was able to get, I think, like 3 different colors of it for very inexpensively. I think it was, with coupons and stuff, it was like $10 or less. And it is this Windy with Wool Aran, 400 grams. And it's a really, I've wanted to try out this particular type of blend for a while. I've seen a few different brands that had it, where basically it's 25% wool, 75% acrylic, and I've wanted to give it a try. I've wanted to see how it works. I love that it's machine washable and it can go in the dryer. So it says mild machine wash and cool tumble dry, which I love. And so I'm very curious to see how it's going to work. It's probably not like the softest acrylic, which makes sense because it's got wool in it. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And this is one of those colors that I absolutely love and I think looks amazing on me. And I like the fact that it's blue and it's the Tidal Treasures or something sweater. So I'm very excited about this one. I have been itching to cast it on since before the yarn arrived, and there was a whole hassle with the yarn arriving. If I can recommend anything, do not order online from Joann around like Black Friday, December timeframe. They messed up my order like twice. It took absolutely forever to get here, and then I had to go through the hassle. They sent me the wrong yarn at one point, and I had to go through the whole hassle of like returning some stuff because they didn't send me the right amount of yarn. It was a pain. I will probably not be ordering online from them again anytime soon. But it was a fantastic price. I've got it now. That's what counts. So, that project. And then the next one on the list, this one I'm so excited about. And I also realized that I forgot to grab the yarn for it. So let me run do that quickly and I'll be right back. Okay. So the next project on my make name board is a vintage Sirdar pattern, I believe. I think it says number 7. I'll have it on the screen. And it is this beautiful, again, that feather and fan stitch pattern, old shale stitch. I'm not sure, the wavy stitch pattern. I've loved this stitch pattern for many, many years, and I decided that this was the year that I was actually going to focus on trying to knit patterns using the stitch pattern, because I've wanted to for such a long time and haven't. And I have no real reason why, I just haven't. So this project is combining two things. It's using a vintage knitting pattern, which I've wanted to attempt for a while, and it's knitting a garment with that fun wavy stitch. This is an example. It is knit bottom up and in pieces. So this is definitely a more, I guess I shouldn't have said a minute ago that I wasn't doing any bottom up stuff. Oops. This is one that I'm expecting to take me quite a bit of time and to just kind of slowly work on it throughout the year. I got this yarn from Hobby Lobby when they were having their whatever dye lot clearance sale in the fall, I think. And it is their Yarntopia blend. It is 100% acrylic. It is 113 grams, 312 yards, and I have it in 5 different colors. And I'm planning to just kind of figure it out as I go along, the color number, like the number of stripes that I'm or number of rows I'm going to do per stripe of color and all of that. But I have it in my stash. I'm really excited about it. I'll probably use this blue for all of the like ribbing details. So this may be a project where I end up having to get one more skein of like the blue or something, just to make sure that I have enough for all of the extra ribbing details. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So there we go. These colors are Heather for this one, which is a beautiful dusty purple, which is not a color that I normally pick. My thinking is that with this one blended in with the other colors, like I thought that this just made a really pretty color palette, kind of beachy in a way. And then just the purple gives it that feminine touch. This is the, I never know how to pronounce this one either. Cerulean? That's terrible, I know that's wrong. This one is Ivory. This one is Sage, and this one is Anchor. I was swatching for something else that I thought I might have to use this yarn for, but it's fine, I didn't. So those are the 5 colors that I have, and we'll see. I'm not sure when I'm going to cast this one on, because again, it's going to be a little bit of a weird one, but I'm excited to give it a try. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The next project is, it's one of those patterns that I saw and I fell in love with it the moment I laid eyes on it, the moment it was released, and I pretty much immediately bought it. And it is, I believe, it's been a minute since I've looked at all the pattern names, so I will correct myself if I'm wrong for any of them. It's the Felicity sweater pattern. I think it's just called Felicity by Yamagara, and I found out about Yamagara, I think last year, maybe the year before. I love her designs so much. They're a little pricey for me. They're kind of in the same bracket, I think, as like petite knit patterns, where they're just a little more expensive than most knitting patterns, and so I don't really have many of them, and I try to take advantage of any of the initial discount sales that Yamagara offers for her stuff. I think her name is Bernice. I think that's her actual name. But I saw this one and I loved it. It's such a very classic, kind of plain, simple sweater with this gorgeous detailing of lace on the sleeves. And I think it's just stunning. Again, I hadn't really thought about it, but it's kind of that feather and fan stitch. I'm telling you, I have loved this stitch for so long. And so this year was the year. So what I decided to do is I got another yarn from the Crochet.com that is not the accurate color. That is showing much more like deep raspberry. This is, it's the Upcycle Alpaca Blend Sport Weight in the fuchsia colorway, 273 yards per 100 grams. And I got 5 balls of this. So my plan is to probably knit the body and then knit the sleeves as long as I can. With their sale, they weren't letting you get more than, I think, 5 balls of one color. And I did the yardage calculations and I looked at it, and it should be enough, like it should be fine, but in case it isn't, that's probably what I'm going to do, is just kind of make the sleeves as long as I can. The makeup of this is really interesting. It's 33% alpaca, 34% wool, and 33% acrylic. So I'm very curious to work with it. I have not worked with any alpaca at all. So yeah, and I think this is going to be a lovely color. It's kind of embracing my love of pink, which I've talked about in previous podcast episodes, that I'm trying to be like, embrace that love a bit more. It was my favorite color when I was a little girl, and then I kind of hit the moody teenager stage and was like, ugh, I don't want to be a pink person anymore. And then I got older and wiser and realized that was silly, and I really do love pink. So, yeah, this is one that I'm really excited about. And looking at the pattern, it looks like it has a very interesting like sleeve, like cap detailing, construction, that word. It's knit top down, so I'm excited, and it would be my first Yamagara pattern to knit too, so she has several of them that I would really like to knit, but that's neither here nor there. The next project, let me see, okay. The next project is the Tulsa Tee by Rebecca Cowl of the Crochet podcast. I love Rebecca's designs. I don't know, it's interesting how you'll find a designer, like a knitting pattern designer, and pretty much everything they design just hits all the boxes for you. And that's kind of how it's been. She's very like classic. I love the fact that she really puts multiple different options into her patterns rather than charging for each separate variation, specifically where she'll have both the cardigan and the sweater option in one pattern. I love that. I think that is so generous and amazing. I'm currently test knitting a pattern for her, which I'm very excited about. I have wanted to test knit for her since she first released her very first test recall. I have been watching her podcast since the first episode. I really enjoy it. So, Tulsa Tee. I was working on one last year, and I finally finished it actually like 3 weeks ago in January. But I love it. I love the shaping of it and the detailing of it, and it's just such a classic, simple t-shirt pattern, and I would love to make a few of them. So I actually have yarn in my stash that I could probably make like 4 of them, but I'm just going to show you a couple of the yarns. The first one is, this is another yarn that I got in the Crochet.com sale. This is Knit Picks Stroll Hand Painted. I believe it's in the mixtape colorway, and I love it. It's a fingering weight 462 yards per 100 grams, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, just classic sock blend yarn. And I got 2 skeins of it, and this would be for the fingering weight version of the Tulsa Tee. So I have this yarn, and then I bought a whole bag of yarn out here to kind of show you. I have these, which is the Lion brand Kobu yarns, which is a DK weight cotton. Is it just 100% cotton? No, this one's 51% cotton, 49% rayon, and this would be for a DK weight version. And then I have, and I love this color palette, like these richer, deeper colors. And I would do stripes, but I would do thinner stripes than I did for my other Tulsa Tee. Very, very excited about it. I want to cast this one on ASAP. And then I also have this gorgeous yarn, which is, I believe, I'm blanking on the name. Coral Weave? I think this one's Coral Weave by Emily of Night Bright Yarn Co. And I think I'm going to use this one for a Tulsa Tee as well. This one would be another fingering weight one because it's like I think it's a 75-25 superwash merino nylon blend. I love it. It's so beautiful. I'm not sure with any of these if I'm going to try and add some additional details to it, or if I would just knit them straight, or not straight, just knit them plain in like plain stockinette. There are a lot of options you can do. You can add like texture stitches to it, or lace stitches, or all of that. I'm not sure if I'm going to have the brain space for that this year, so we'll see. But those are 3 that I know of that I have the yarn for, and I'm pretty sure I have at least a couple more. So expect to see some Tulsas in the near future. Okay, the next one, the next pattern, I'm kind of trying to go through this quickly because, again, baby's napping. You never know when he's gonna wake up. And I would love to sit and do some knitting for a bit. We had a rough night last night. So the next one is Vernaculus by Midori Hirose, Knit Cafe Midori. I knit one of those last fall. Absolutely love it. I would like to have like 4 different versions of that. I would love to knit another cotton version of it. The one that I knit was a linen cotton blend. So I would love to knit another one of those. But I was also able to get this color of the Windy with Wool 400 grams acrylic wool blend from Joanne. And I kind of feel like this is like a sour apple sort of a color. It's not quite as saturated, like jewel toned as it looked like it was online. So I've kind of gone back and forth, but I think it could still look good with me. It could still look good on me with my skin tone. My goodness. And this one, it's called Pesto. I was saying, it kind of makes me think of like sour apple candy. That's what it makes me think of, but it's pesto. So probably gonna do a ranunculus out of this one, and then sometime this year or maybe next year, depending, I would like to get some of the Hobby Lobby I Love This Cotton yarn and make another ranunculus with that one. Because it was a really fun pattern to knit. I think the one thing that I would try and do a little bit differently is either go down a needle size a little bit more, or maybe not do as many increases just to make it a little more fitted, because I know cotton and stuff like kind of stretches and does things, and so it makes it a lot looser than over time as you wear it, it stretches, it gets bigger, it gets looser, it's baggier. So I'm curious to see what it will look like in the wool acrylic blend, and then I kind of just want to make it a little more fitted. So the last project on my Make9 board is a cowl. It's a free pattern that I found. I can't remember the name of it. I'll have it up on the screen. Another feather and fan stitch pattern cowl. I've come to the realization that I just do not wear shawls, and this is something I've been in denial of for quite some time. I really enjoy knitting shawls. They're very fun. Usually there's a lot of colors that you put all in together, and there's a lot of stitch patterns, and they're fun. I just do not wear them at all. Like, ever. I've knit plenty of shawls in my time, and I have gotten rid of basically all of them over time because I don't wear them. And yeah, and especially as like a mom with a toddler and stuff, I don't really want something that can come unwrapped all the time, because then you're trying to wrangle your toddler and your shawl's end is flipping off to the side. It's really annoying. So I'm going to attempt this year and see if cowls work for me. And I found this pattern. It's a free pattern, so there's very little like investment into it, if you will. And I'm gonna give it a shot because I like the idea of a cowl. I got a new coat this year from Old Navy that has a stand collar, because I'm really sensitive about stuff being very tight on my neck or pushing against the back of my neck too much. And so I got this new coat and I love it, but the stand collar does kind of, it's like it stays here, so there's all this space here that is very open to the wind. And I love the idea of making a cowl that will kind of sit there and kind of cover that and just keep me a little snuggly and warm without being too tight on my neck or too bulky. Because that's honestly the biggest problem I have with shawls, is that if I don't wear them like grandma style, just over your shoulders, if I try and wrap them around my neck, I just kind of get like, it starts feeling like I'm choking, so I'm like, get rid of it. So I'm hoping with a cowl it'll be less fabric there and it'll just be like nice and cozy and squishy and stay in place. So I have this one that I want to try, and then I have a couple other cowl patterns that I want to experiment with and see if I like. But this is kind of going to be the exploring cowl territory for me. I don't think I've ever knit one, like ever, which is really funny. So I have a couple of different options of yarns that I might use for a cowl. I have several different like single skeins of different yarns that I think would work great for a cowl. And I think that it would be a good use of them because it will really showcase the yarn. But I just need to pick which one. So I grabbed a couple of them of yarns for my stash that I think would be lovely. And the first one is this one. It is DK Variations or Variations DK yarn by Friendly Products, 100% merino superwash in the, it's an Australian merino, 100%, yep, 100% superwash merino, 254 yards in the African Strawberry Quartz colorway. And this was a yarn that I purchased in Chattanooga when I was down there in November. So I was like, this would be a really, really cute cowl. My new coat is pink, so it would be a pink overload. But I think that would be really cute. And then this was a fantastic gift from Holly of Mystery Mouse Yarn Co. And it is her one of her Christmas colorways from 2023. It's the Ugly Christmas Sweater. It's a 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% stellina. So it's got like the sparkle base. And I was like, oh, wouldn't that be so much fun as like a little pop of color sort of a cowl? I do think, if I remember correctly, this pattern is for DK weight yarn, so if I were to make that specific pattern and with this, I would have to hold it double, so that would be kind of fun to see what that did, but it's so much fun. There are so many colors in this skein, and that sparkle, this would be like a happiness in a cowl. It would be so beautiful. So those are just a couple different options of yarns that I have that I think would be cute as cowls. So that is all for my official Make 9. Oops, I moved my thing. There we go. For my official Make 9 project board. I also made a, and I'm just going to briefly talk about this one. I have a lot of sock yarn that I would love to knit up into socks this year. And so I made myself a sort of sock board, which I'll have up on the screen, of 12 different sock patterns from my library. They're either free sock patterns or patterns that I've purchased and just have been sitting there. There's one of them that I haven't bought yet, but I would like to. And there's just a bunch of different socks that I would like to try and knit up this year. And I'm not going to talk about all of the different patterns specifically. The first, let's see, I did 12 patterns total, and the first 8 of them are patterns by Olivia from This Handmade Life. And I have bought so many of her patterns, and I have yet to knit up a single one. I think I knit one years ago. I think she did a test call or something, and I did a test knit for her, but the yarn gauge and stuff that I was getting, it was too small for me, so I ended up giving those to my mom. So I don't have any socks from her patterns, and I have, again, bought so many of them. So the first 8 are her patterns that I would like to do, and then the last 4 are just different ones. I think they're all free patterns that I have in my Ravelry library. There's the Mercury socks, which are actually the first pattern sock that I ever knit. I think it was the second pair of socks that I ever knit, and I didn't know anything about knitting socks and what yarn to select for sock yarns, and I didn't have any idea about any of that. So the pair of socks that I knit was out of some like acrylic baby yarn, and they were way too big. So I wore them, but they were just too loose and big. So I want to re-knit that pattern. I think it would just be really fun. And then the Hermione's Everyday sock, I've talked about that many times. I love them. I'd love to knit a few more of them. And then there's a couple other ones. I can't remember their specific names. There's a feather and fan stitch sock. And then just like a really pretty like lacy detailed sock. And I will have all the patterns from my sock board listed down below. But yeah, most of them are sock patterns from This Handmade Life. I was very inspired by Amy of Noble Character Crafts, where last year she was knitting through her Knit Picks Felici sock stash, and she was using patterns specifically from Kay of the Crazy Sock Lady, and she was talking about how there was a bunch of patterns that she'd purchased but hadn't knit up, and I was like, oh, I have that same problem. Just with a different designer. So that's what I'm hoping to kind of tackle this year. I don't know if tackle makes it sound like a negative thing, but to do at least 1 or 2 of them. I'm not expecting to knit all 12 of these sock patterns. I'm expecting to do plenty of vanilla socks, like plain stockinette socks as well. But these are the patterns, like if I'm feeling that itch for a pattern sock, these are the ones that I want to try and pick from. So I just quickly wanted to show you just a few of the sock yarns that I have. I have so much sock yarn. I need to get busy. So I'm just going to show you a couple of them that I'm really excited about. Most of them are opal yarns. So this one is Opal Abo. I actually won this from participating in the Anna's Knit Club last summer, I think. This was one of the yarns that I won, and I love it. I think it's just such a fun colorway. And then this is the label ripped off of it, but this was a yarn that I believe my mother-in-law gifted me. It's another opal yarn from their history collection. I think it's just beautiful. Let me see if it has the sock's hidden under the price tag, so I can't show it to you, but it's just another really fun striping sock. And then another opal yarn. This is from the Beauty collection, and you can kind of see the sock. I love these colors so much. I thought about this sock yarn after I'd seen it for ages. Like I wanted it so bad, and I'm pretty sure this was another one that my mother-in-law got for me that I picked out. But there's that one, and then I have this yarn from Lion Brand. It's their Sock Ease blend, and they had it available for a really limited time. I think I got it last spring, and it's just a 75-25 wool and nylon blend, and I love it. I think it's really cool. I'm excited to see. They don't have a picture really of how it stripes up, so I think it's going to be kind of narrow stripes based off of how the yarn looks, but I don't know. I'm excited about it. These are kind of the yarns that I haven't done anything with because, you know, saving the best for last sort of a thing. Trying not to do that this year. And then I have this Drops Fable in the, I believe it was like the candy colorway or something, that I got last year. And it's beautiful. Amber from A Lovely Yarn had this same colorway, and she knit up a pair of socks, and they look amazing. So that made me really want to knit my pair of socks out of them. So that's just an example of a few of the different yarns that I have for socks. Again, like I said, I have way more than that. So much more. It's ridiculous. But that's kind of one of the biggest reasons why I was like, I need to stop buying yarn, because I keep buying all this sock yarn and I'm not knitting socks quickly enough to keep up with it. So there's that. And then very briefly, let me talk about the last board, if you will, that I did. I have some Christmas projects that I kind of want to try and work on throughout the year. I'll have the thing up here again. The first one is a felt, it's like an Advent ornament thing. Growing up, my family had this, it was like a wood nativity thing where it had like from the 1st to the 24th, and it's kind of probably not that tall. The bottom half of it was like all the numbered boxes that like opened up, and then the top half of it was kind of this scene with little hooks on it that you would hang the different little nativity ornaments. And there was a little like Bible verse reading that you did every day, and we did it every year, where we would put the first letter of our initial or our name in the box, and we would divide it up because there's 24 days, and depending upon the number of kids that were doing it, your name would get put in the bucket like 6 times or 4 times or whatever. And then each night, my mom and dad were really big on reading aloud to us, which was such a blessing. So each night after we were done reading aloud, just before we were getting ready to go to bed, somebody would pull a name out, and whoever that person was got to hang the next ornament up on the little stable thing. I'll see if I can find a picture of an example. I did some looking to try and find a version of it. I think my mom ended up getting rid of that, which I was like, why? No! I wanted it! I'll see if I can find kind of an example of what I'm talking about, but I loved it. I have very, very fond memories of doing that. Like, it was so much fun. We kept doing that way past when we'd grown out of it. And I would love to do something similar for our children. I think next Christmas, baby Tam will be old enough to kind of get it a little bit more. So my thinking is I can make just a bunch of these felt nativity ornament things. And I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do as far as like hanging it up. Are we just going to hang it up on the Christmas tree? I'm not sure yet. But I would love it if we could do that. I think it would be so, so much fun. So, hoping to do that. And then the next one is the nativity set that I talked about by Esther Braithwaite, which I'm planning to use some more of this yarns to do. It's just a knitting pattern. They're really simple. I love the idea of having little nativity sets that my kids can play with. We had a fabric nativity set growing up that we got to play with, and we would make up all kinds of silly stories about it. There was the 3 wise men were all like combined into like one. Again, I'll see if I can find a picture. We were very silly children. They were combined into one like fabric thing, and we used to fold down one of the heads and like twist it around or whatever and pretend that it was just a single very fat wise man. I think we called him Simon, if I remember correctly. I don't know why. We were silly. We were very goofy children. But we thought it was the funniest thing ever. But we were able to play with it. Like, it was a little nativity set. We were able to play with it and everything. And I love the idea of having that, again, for my kids. So, the next thing is just some more crocheted star ornaments. I really like the ones that I was able to do this past December, and I'd love to do some more. And then the last thing we're going to talk about in this probably very lengthy video is... if you're not familiar, there's a blog called Down East Thunder Farm blog, I believe. She has some of the most amazing like felt ornament patterns for like birds and animals and sea creatures. It's amazing. she has this specific like bird ornament set. Again, I'll have a picture. And it's beautiful. It is so, so beautiful. I'd love to do a few of these ornaments. I love birds so much. We had bird feeders growing up, and so we would watch like the juncos and the blue jays and the cardinals and the chickadees, because it was mostly during the winter time when they would show up, and those were a lot of the birds that, at least where we were living, stayed in the area for winter. And we loved watching them. I am so, so excited to get a bird feeder for us, because baby Tam has just kind of started noticing like when birds are outside. We've had this like kind of flock of starlings that have been kind of around the neighborhood recently, and he just will stop and like look out the window, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's birds out there. You want to go look out the window? It's the cutest thing, and I love it. I love it so much. So I love birds. I love little songbirds. I love animals in general, but like little woodland animals and things. Oh, I would love to make a bunch of these felt bird ornaments. I think it would be amazing to have those to put on your tree and just to hang up as decor year round for some of them. I've made one. I made a little robin, but I never got around to making any more. I cut out another one in the townhouse where we lived before we moved into this house. There was kind of this like, I don't know exactly what it was. It was like a sinkhole, swampy area right next to the townhouse building that we were in, and there were a bunch of trees and things. I don't think they could build anything on it because I think it was sort of a sinkhole. If you're not familiar, I'm pretty sure the area that we lived in Tennessee is very well known for sinkholes. But it was just kind of this almost wildlife area, and there were so many red-winged blackbirds flying around in there. It was beautiful. And so I was like, oh, that'd be really special to make a red-winged blackbird ornament and have that to like hang up, and it would be like commemorative of our time living in the townhouse. We lived there for like 3 years. It was the first place we lived after we got married. We had our first baby there. Like, it's got some special memories. I got it all cut out and never sewed it together. So I have that. I need to finish that one up. But I'd also just like to make some ornaments. Anyway, this is gonna be a ridiculously long video. I've been so chatty, but I've been meaning to talk about all this stuff for so long, and I've been so excited about it. However, that is all that I have to talk about. I hope that you enjoyed hearing about some of my plans for this year. Again, I'll have my Etsy shop and Instagram and everything linked down below. If you didn't watch my last video, I probably should have said this at the beginning. I am only checking Instagram once a week now. I only am going to be popping on there on Thursdays. So if you send me a message or anything and you don't hear anything from me, that's why. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying to limit my time on there. And I've actually been really enjoying it. It's been really fun. I haven't missed it. So I'm glad about that. I do like keeping Instagram because it's a way for me to participate in different knit-alongs and things, but I'm trying to kind of limit it and start working towards limiting my overall screen time in general. Anyway. So I will have all the links to everything down below. I'll have links to all the patterns and all that fun stuff, the podcasts that I mentioned, everything. It'll all be down below. But yeah, I hope that you are having a wonderful January so far. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm hoping to get another podcast episode up in the next couple of weeks sometime. I'm not 100% sure. I've actually been doing a decent amount of knitting. Like, not loads, but a decent amount. And I have some different updates for my different projects to talk about. So that's all. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon on the next one. Bye.